Hi folks, most Indian investors have been investing into equity mutual funds through the SIP route. And post 2024, they have either seen their returns go down or for newer investors, the returns have been in the negative or flat territory. So how do we actually look at our SIP returns? Are we just looking at the overall absolute return? Are we looking at the annualized return? Or is there a way to slice and analyze this better? That is what I'm going to talk about in this video. So let me show you a real life example of an SIP that is going on from 2022 in the popular fund Parag Parikh Flexi Cap Fund regular scheme. So here you can look at the various data points. This is the narration, it is SIP. Here is the date of first investment, that is on 4th of April 2022. The per SIP amount is 5,000. The purchase price as on that day was 50.85 rupees. Therefore, I got 98.3 units. Now, the current value of this 5,000 is grown to 8,147. Therefore, my gain is 3,147. The number of days is 1,563. Therefore, my absolute gain is 62%. However, I need to compare this against fixed deposit on an annualized return. That is my baseline expectation. So, it is important to set two kinds of expectations at this point of time. The baseline expectation, which for me is that it should at least beat fixed deposits by a significant margin. Now, many Indian investors are expecting very high returns like 20% or 30% from their returns because they've seen this during COVID days. However, in the current interest and inflation scenario, most fund managers consider their job to be done if they have delivered between 10 to 12% per annum on an annualized basis, that is, if they have delivered these kind of returns. Anything above that we can consider as a bonus. So we need to align our expectations to these kind of rates. So now I've set my expectation as 12% in this example. Therefore, now when I look at per SIP return, then I get an idea of how many of my SIP or what amount of my SIP has delivered good returns or returns above my expectation. How much is okay, that is it's beating FD but not up to my expectation, or how much is even below FD. So here this software gives me a XIRR or annualized return as it is easily understandable. Now what I need to look at is how many of my investments have given me returns of above 12%. So if you look at it from 2022 all the way till almost end of 2023, I'm getting returns about 12% or so. So this chunk of investments has delivered above my expectation. Whereas the investments from December 2023 till about April 2023, sorry, April 2024 have delivered between 7 and 12%. So they've beaten FD but not by the margin that I wanted. Post that, it has started tapering down. So it's gone below. So 6, 4, 2, 0, which is almost flat, etc. When I come to the period which is less than 1 year, then I should look at absolute return, because then annualized return becomes an extrapolation of the absolute return. Therefore, it can seem like an exaggerated picture. So I look at the absolute return. Now, if I was only looking at the return overall, then I would see that look, Parag Parikh Flexi Cap Fund, my investment here is giving me 11.39% annualized return. So my expectation was 12%, as I said in this example. I would have felt like my entire fund is giving me less than the expectation. But when I slice and dice it like this, then I can see that part of my investment is still performing above expectation. Part of it is giving decent return. I may withdraw this if I'm really in need, but I can leave it there. But the latter part of the investments I should ideally leave there and let it deliver the kind of returns I wanted to before I withdraw it. So that will be ideal. Now you may not have access to a software like this that gives you annualized return. You can create it yourself using an Excel sheet. So you can download your statement and then use a converter. Typically the statements come in PDF format. Therefore you can convert it using a converter, but make sure that these data points are available. So In this example, you can see that I've captured the date, then the narration, then the SIP amount per month, the purchase price, that is the NAV as on the date I purchased it, and which also gives me the number of units, or this will also be there in the statement. Now I can easily calculate the current value by multiplying the number of units into the current price. So till here it is fairly easy. Now how do you get the annualized return per transaction? It is a formula. You can look for the CAGR formula. It's easily available and you can plug it here and then use the data points which are already there to give you the annualized return for that particular transaction. Here again in this chunk you can see that I can see what each of my returns are. So setting my goal expectation for this fund and therefore seeing the amount it has delivered, I can then segregate again and analyze all the way till the end and see which of or how much of my SIP has delivered. So this will give us a more clear picture, and this is especially helpful in the time of redemption, because then you may be confused. Do I take the entire amount out? Do I take out part of it? How much has performed? How much has not? This gives us a much clearer picture. So I hope this video helps you to understand your SIP performance better. If you have any queries, please drop a comment or reach out to us on our contact points and we'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks for watching.